Hi, this is John Paul from Breathing Journeys, here just to talk a little bit about how you can integrate the practice of conscious connected breathing into your daily life. So when I do one-day introductory workshops, one of the questions I always get asked is can I do this practice on my own, or how do I take this forward and use it? So there's different ways you can do that. I'm just going to run through them and give you some different ideas, and they range from just really short breathing practices to doing much longer sessions, either on your own or with someone else. So the first thing I always recommend, which is a really simple practice but I find really useful, is just to do 20 connected breaths. So I'm just going to remind you of the process of conscious connected breathing, and then we'll do 20 connected breaths, and if you want you can breathe alongside me as I do this. So just to recap, conscious connected breathing, we can breathe in and out through the nose or in and out through the mouth, whatever is most comfortable for you. They have a bit of a different effect. Breathing through the nose tends to give a more kind of meditative experience generally, whereas mouth breathing can lead you deeper into more emotional terrain. That's not necessarily going to happen as a rule. It's just a general guideline. The way I was taught and the way I always do it myself is I'll start off breathing through my nose unless this session unfolds and I have the urge to open my mouth, or quite often if things get more emotional you tend to switch naturally to breathing through your mouth anyway. But I say just choose one which you are drawn to or you find most comfortable. So I'm going to breathe in and out through the nose or through the mouth, and breathe from the belly up into the chest, nice full in-breath, and then you just let it go. And then as you're letting the body relax on the exhale, so the exhalation, really what you want to do is have a nice relaxed exhale, just let the breath go. We're not trying to force the breath or anything. Then before the bottom of the exhale, we inhale again. So this is connected breathing. We don't pause at the end of the exhale. So if I just run through 20 connected breaths, and then I'll just say a bit more about how you can use that as you wish. Okay. Okay, so that was me doing 20 breaths in a row, and the way I use this really is moving from one kind of activity to another. So say I've been really busy and then I'm about to drive home, I'll just stop in the car and I'll take 20 connected breaths before I start my journey. Or if you're about to do something like, I don't know, give a talk or go into a meeting, you could just stop and do even just 10 connected breaths. But it's a really useful practice. I find it really calming, stilling, just brings me back into the present and just enables a little bit of downtime before you kind of go on to whatever you're doing next in your life. A lot of us have such busy lives these days, it's very easy to get caught into going from one activity to the other, to the next, to the next, to the next. You never really give yourself a break. So this is just a way of building in little pauses into your day, before you go into some activity or after you finish something, just to kind of break up the busyness. So I really advocate you taking it on as a practice. So that's 20 connected breaths. What I would suggest now is you can give yourself a session. So way I used to do this is just set the timer for an hour, say, and go and lie down. Well, you can do it in your bed or make yourself a nice comfy space and set the space up, make it nice. But just to lie down and do connected breathing for like an hour. And what this will give you as a minimum really is a detox of the body. So about 70% of the body's waste products come out the breath, more than anything else. So simply breathing in this way is a really, really good detox. It's really good for your skin, really good for bringing energy into your body. And often people do it and you'll see a real sparkle in their eyes afterwards. So just doing this, you might find it quite hard initially to do it on your own. You might like drift off to sleep a little, or your mind will wander. But if that happens, every time you come back to your awareness of where you are and what you're doing, just come back to your breath and come back to the breathing process. You're lying there, just concentrate on your belly, breathing from your belly up into your chest. Nice relaxed exhale. To help you do this, I wrote a guide about using the breath. There's a couple of sound files with kind of lead-ins to the process. They don't go through the whole process, but they'll lead you into starting the breath. And if you're already signed up to the newsletter, you'll have access to those. And if you can't find them, then email me, johnpaul@breathingjourneys.com, or sign up to the newsletter and you'll get access to all those files. So when you breathe on your own, you probably won't go as deeply into the process as if you've got someone present. So the next thing I advocate is get a friend to sit for you, someone who supports you. It might be your partner or a close friend, but they don't have to be a facilitator. All they have to do is be with you and be there to support you and just be attentive, and they can be there to, give you a drink or put a blanket on you, or if you need a bit of reassurance, put a hand on your shoulder. You can ask them for whatever you need. But I find just having someone there really supportive, and I will do that often when I really want to do a proper breathe. I'll get someone to sit for me for say an hour and a half, and I'll go through the process. So you're not asking them to facilitate you in any way, but just having someone there will enable you just to relax a bit more. You'll feel safer, and you'll be able to go a bit more deeply into the process. So you'll notice a difference between doing it on your own and then doing it with someone there. So I invite you just to experiment with that. They're just different ways of approaching it. And don't get too rigorous about, I'll have to do this inside lying down. You could go out into nature and sit beneath a tree or by a river, take yourself a little walk and just do some breathing. Just start to build it into your life as a practice, and as a way of just taking a little bit of time out. Now, one thing to say about the practice is, when you get into a full breathwork session, people can have quite strong experiences. They can get a lot of energy moving through them. Sometimes people can get into quite deep emotional territory. There's a real inbuilt safety mechanism to this process that I have experienced all the way through my breathing practice, and it's one of the reasons I really, really like the practice of conscious connected breathing and the whole process of breath work. In that when you do a breathe, you really set up a really safe container for yourself, and you won't go anywhere that you don't want to go. You're not going to go into something you can't handle. You're not going to open things up if you don't feel safe enough. If the setup you've got with yourself or with a friend, whatever, you'll only go where you feel safe to do so within that kind of space, that context. So there's a real, sort of built-in safety mechanism to the process. So whichever level you kind of participate in, you will go to a certain depth in your breathwork session. With 20 connected breaths, just a little calming process. If you do it on your own, you'll get a certain experience out of it. Now, I do know people that have got a lot out of breathing on their own, and they have gone deep into it. So it's not like just breathing on your own, you won't go anywhere. Just get into the practice and get used to it. Then if you breathe with someone else, it's a different situation. One thing I'll say is, if you are setting things up with a friend to sit for you, set it up as some kind of exchange. So it's not just a giving and receiving one way. It's always good to set up something in exchange. So maybe you could give them a massage or cook them a meal, or it doesn't have to be at the same time, but just set it up that way so that both people get something out of it, and it's a better way of working. What you can also do is, if you know someone else that is also learning about this process, so this is what I encourage at workshops, is if people can team up. If you make a connection with someone, then you can do exchanges. And this is again something I did after my very first sort of breathwork training course, is I had a really strong connection with someone on the course through the breathe. And for many years afterwards, we met up, and one of us would do a breathe in the morning and one of us would do a breathe in the afternoon, or we do them straight after each other, or we do them on different days. But there was always an exchange there. And this can be a really a useful way to do it. I find it very, very helpful. And you might think, oh, I won't get so much out of that as working with a facilitator. But I had some really, really insightful experiences in those exchanges. I got a lot out of it. So this is another way to take it forward. So next up is doing a session with a trained facilitator like myself. Now, the advantage of doing that is, working with someone that's been through a lot of different breathwork experiences, has several years training. Most training programs are a couple of years at least. They will have traversed a lot of the ground that you may wish to travel. So, my own process in training, I went through a lot of different emotional experiences, a lot of different ways of looking at breathwork. And when you work with a facilitator, they can support you and guide you through the process. And there's two big advantages to that. One is it sets up an additional space of support for you to go deeper in the process if that's where you're ready to go. So it may be that you go into like a stronger experience or deeper emotional experience or more connected. But also, by working with a facilitator, you will gradually take on how to work with the breath yourself. So this is what I really promote. Once you get input from someone like myself, you'll gradually get into the habit of how to deal with what is happening. And over time, it might be that you start off and you do like one session a week or one session a fortnight with someone. And then over time, you gradually get the hang of doing it yourself more and more. So it makes your other sessions more accessible and easier to do. So it's easier to do breathwork on your own, or it's much easier to do it with a friend sitting for you, because you know how to work with the process. So that's the two main advantages. One is you'll get a supportive space to go deeper, and you'll also start to get to know how to use the process yourself. So ultimately, you're training yourself to use the process. So that's the different ways I propose, working with the breath. You can do 20 connected breaths. You can do a self session. You can work with a friend or a partner, and you can work with a facilitator. So best of luck as you go forward with your practice. If you get any questions, feel free to email me, johnpaul@breathingjourneys.com. Always happy to answer any questions you've got. And enjoy your day and happy breathing. All the best. John Paul.